Hey guys, welcome back. It's so good to see you again. This week we're going to talk about how to find the perfect photography location in maybe a place you've never been to before. I'm going to go over some top tips and some tools that will help you find that perfect location. And watch all the way through to the end, because at the end of this video I'm going to reveal the #1 hack that may just help you find that perfect location. Are you ready? So I just got back from Carmel, California. Poor me, right? I know. I got to do some shooting around Big Sur. See, I was out there with my wife celebrating our 16-year wedding anniversary. And she was gracious enough to go ahead and let me pursue some photography while we were there. The rules, though, were that I got to get up early in the morning and head out and do photography until she decided to wake up. So it gave me about 3.5 hours to do my photography in the morning. And then I also got a possibility of grabbing some shots at sunset. So with eager anticipation, I got up that very first morning at about 5:30 in the morning, and I headed out to Big Sur in my rental car. And that's when landscape photography got real. I'm parked beside the coastal highway, Highway 1 in California, just south of Carmel. It's so windy that I opened the door and it almost took it out of my hand. So I'm kind of waiting on this fog to clear just a little bit so I can see. Actually, I'm going to drive down the highway a little bit more. I want to see if I can even look back at this area before I climb down there. The problem with all these turnouts on the Highway 1 is that you can't really see what's down there until you exit the car and go down the hill. And there's so many places that you could do that. So the question is, which one of these turnouts is going to give me the best composition? Now, I do not know which one of these turnouts is going to be the best. It takes time just to explore which of the spots you're going to want to shoot. Seems like you're driving up and down the highway aimlessly because you're really indecisive on what you're going to shoot. Well, I got to be honest, and I am not feeling anything right now except indecisiveness on what I want to shoot. So I'm going to have to pick a spot and get down to the rocks and just set up and start shooting. Maybe not set up the tripod, but I've got to start framing up some compositions, because every single spot that I'm going to right now, I'm talking myself out of, and I'm not getting any good shots. So I've got to end this indecisiveness and just go shoot something. The first rule, #1, is trust your instincts and absolutely incinerate indecisiveness. I wasted so much time driving around aimlessly when all I really needed to do was pick a spot and explore it. So that's the first rule. #2 is explore that area thoroughly. Get to know it. Get intimate with it. You don't know what kind of compositions could be just around the next bend. And if you get tangled up with your tripod and you're trying to just force a composition to happen and you haven't thoroughly explored the area, then you may not see a composition that's just around the bend. So stop with the tripod shuffling and get out there and just explore the area thoroughly. And #3 is linger in that area. Take in all the smells and the sounds, and I mean, isn't that part of why we do landscape photography anyway, is just to get out and be with God in this amazing environment and just see what He has in store for us. More about that later too. as much as I'm tempted just to bail and go somewhere else, the lighting keeps changing here. So I really want to stay in this one spot. I am so ADD, I have to fight the urge to just up and go somewhere else. There's so many beautiful rocks and so many beautiful coves that I could be shooting right now, but the way the light keeps changing here, I'm still not convinced I've got the best shot here. So I'm gonna stay put and just keep shooting for a bit. But isn't this just epic?
But then number 4 is to make yourself a shot list, right? So in commercial work, we never show up to a shoot without having a thoroughly thought out shot list. And so as a landscape photographer, this is kind of different. You know, I show up on a location and there really isn't a clear-cut shot list for me to knock out, you know, one by one. Yeah, we got that. Yeah, we got that. Yeah, we got that. But as you're walking around, be making little mental notes, or actually even put a list in your phone about the areas that you want to go back and shoot. And then also think about, what will these areas look like tomorrow? Like maybe when the sun comes up. What would this area look like with a low, thin fog? What will this area look like at sunset? Be thinking these things through and just linger and look and listen and feel how that area could possibly give you a composition at another time. And you might even have to come back in another year to get those conditions, but you can still put that on your shot list. And I found that doing that really helped me to isolate, okay, I'm just going to focus on these 3 key areas. These are my shots that I really need to get. And I went back the next morning after seeing one spot that I really wanted to check out. I got there after the sun had already come up, so I went back the next morning and I tried to get another shot when the sun was just coming up, and that was pretty helpful. So now, let's talk about some of the tools. Now, I've already talked at length about using your phone in my waterfall video to do preview shots, and this is invaluable. As you're taking in a new location, walk around and really use your phone to preview those panoramas or preview certain compositions so that you can quickly see whether that's working or not. Because if you do that every time with your tripod, you're just going to waste more time. So use that phone. On one occasion, I found this path, and it really was about the lighting. I didn't really have the strongest composition, but I did have some really good light. And I used my phone to do a preview, and then I did the same kind of panorama with my big camera. But I did want to at least explore it because it did look okay on my phone. So let's talk about some apps. The more I explore new locations, the more I'm beginning to depend on these apps to give me reconnaissance and clues as to what might be a really good place to explore. It is a wonderful time to be a landscape photographer, to have all of these tools at our disposal. So Google Earth is amazing because you can basically pinch and zoom in on an area and kind of explore it in 3 dimensions and really get a sense of the way the land goes, where you can maybe find a good composition. You can explore up little canyons and find mountains and see, you know, what could even be in the distance in a vista in your frame. You kind of get a sense of distances between these. And then you can use Google Maps if you find a really cool place to kind of drop a pin and have it help you navigate exactly to a place that you want to explore. Maybe you found something on Google Earth that you've never seen or heard about. Another app I really love is AllTrails. Now, a buddy of mine downloaded this before we went on a hike together, and I was completely blown away once we actually got into the tool and started using it. And now I go to it every single time. Not only does it give you explicit information on trails, the difficulty, the terrain, how long it will take, the best little offshoots, but people are constantly uploading photos and data to these trails, and you can zoom through those pictures really fast and see some really neat places that you may not know are even along that trail. There could be a really cool tree. There could be a really cool waterfall that somebody's found and they've dropped a picture on AllTrails. So I found that to be an absolutely incredible tool to help me even preview what I might see if I do go down a trail. Now, another app that I love is Sunseeker. Now, Sunseeker is one of these apps that you can use to locate the sun at any time of day. You can actually hold your phone up and see a trajectory of the way the sun is going to come up from below the horizon and where it's going to set at sunset. I also used Sunseeker when I was in Big Sur, because if you're on the West Coast, it's kind of a sunset location, and I'm really shooting in the mornings. That's when my wife gave me permission to go shoot. So if you're thinking of the coastline runs north and south predominantly, what I was able to do is by using Google Maps, Google Earth, and Sunseeker, I found that Sobranis Point was sort of a peninsula. And the way the sun was going to come up over the mountains, I would still be able to get a composition with water and rocks and the sun in my composition. So it wouldn't be behind me, but it would be kind of to the side. Now, another one that I like, of course, a lot of other photographers mention this one, is PhotoPills with explicit data on depth of field. I use it to find hyperfocal distance, but it also has some really neat data on the time the sun's going to rise, the time the sun's going to set. If you're doing astrophotography, then you can use it to find when the center of the galactic core is going to be visible. It gives you tons of information on the phases of the moon. You know exactly when the moon's going to set. So definitely look at PhotoPills. Another one that I've just picked up is Clear Outside. And this one is kind of one of those that you have to have because none of the other apps really give you this data, and that is the mist and fog cover. It will give you a forecast on whether or not there's going to be fog out that morning. So just like tomorrow, I may end up going to Broken Bow, and I've already looked, and as far as Clear Outside says, that there's not going to be any fog. I was kind of hoping for a little bit of fog, but it doesn't really look like there's any fog. But it's just absolutely a wonderful time to be a photographer, to have all of these tools at your disposal. Now, one thing that was really cool is I found a secret location that people talk about all the time on YouTube. It's called Secret Hole. Now, no one will actually disclose exactly where this location is, but by using Google Earth and watching one of their YouTube videos, a guy flew a drone over this location. Well, he got up just high enough above the tree line that I was able to pick out some landmarks, and by looking on Google Earth, I was able to triangulate that position and ultimately find that location. So it's going to be kind of fun, it's like you're doing aerial recon. I get to go and try to find that location after having found it on these tools. It's absolutely amazing. But finally, well, one more thing. If you have a drone, it's also great once you get to a location. If you're just kind of in a funk where you really just can't find that perfect location, sometimes it's best just to stop, take off with your drone, change it up a little bit, break that brain fog and get up over the trees and just sort of scope it out with your drone. Some of these new drones like the DJI Mavic Pro 2, it has such a great camera that I can take stills from the air with it. But I also use it for finding my locations and sort of getting my bearings. I absolutely love this tool. It's incredible to give me a little bit of an edge on finding my locations. Now finally, this is the biggest hack so far in finding the perfect location. And that is, ask your friends, okay? It's a big community out there of photographers, and I got a tip from one of my dear friends from high school. Adam Allison told me, Jason, you've got to go out and see Lone Cypress. I hadn't heard about it. I didn't see it on the maps. It wasn't really in my radar of places to go. But I pulled it up and looked at it, and it did look fantastic. So I explored this location. Now, Lone Cypress is a heavily trafficked tourist destination, and it's extremely protected. So there's really only one small platform that you can get down to even see Lone Cypress. So that really limited me on where I could set up with a tripod. But we had this mist on the horizon. We didn't get that really colorful, beautiful sunset I had hoped for. We ended up with fog and mist. So I ended up deciding to go ahead with a long exposure. I did a 30-second exposure with a 10-stop ND filter from Breakthrough Photography. And that actually may be one of my favorite shots from the entire trip. And it wasn't like I had to hike anywhere. You know, I got down on the same platform as everybody else. My biggest challenge was getting a 30-second exposure while there weren't children running around like a herd of bison and shaking the whole platform. Listen to what your friends say, but then finally, this one's one I love. Why not consult the creator of the location? See, as Christians, that's one thing we have at our disposal. So we can just ask God. He made all these places anyway. So as you're exploring and you're going around, listen. The Holy Spirit may prompt you, just come on a little further. Just come on around that corner. Listen to that. Learn to hear that voice. It's a still, small voice, and learn to tap into that. When I was down on Sobranis Point, one morning I got to this little cove, and I just felt this prompting to go on further. And it was sketchy, it was dangerous, it was slick, wind was howling.
I came back to Garota State Park. This is Sobranis Point, if I'm saying that correctly, probably not. I'm about to lose my hat.
But I just felt this prompting, just to come on down. It's okay, I'm with you, come on down. So I carefully grabbed my tripod, backpack, GoPro, coffee, camera, everything. I was trying to vlog at the same time, and I go down and I get on this rock and I just start taking shots. I end up having to wipe the lens every single time in between shots because it kept getting the sea mist in the lens. But I spent about an hour in excruciating circumstances. The wind was hitting me right in the face, right into the nose of the camera. The waves were crashing all around me. I felt scared. I felt like my camera was going to go into the water at any moment. God was like, nope, hang in there with me. We've got this. So I stayed there and I shot for a little over an hour these excruciating shots that just seemed like they took so much energy because of the conditions. But if I hadn't listened to that little prompting, I don't know that I would have ever gone out to that point, which I ended up finding a really neat composition out there. So I encourage you to utilize all of the tools that are at your disposal. When you go to a new location, it is a challenge. It's so difficult to pin down exactly where you want to go. And don't worry if you don't find that beautiful composition on the first go around. All told, I think my trip to Big Sur was really more of a location scout than it was a shooting trip. Sure, I got some shots, but it was really about the experience of being there and learning what that place had to offer. And now I've got a shot list of things that I really want to get the next time when I go back. So I hope this video has been really helpful for you. Please give me a nod and click the subscribe button and click that little bell so that you'll know the very next time that I post a new video. And if you will, click like too, please. Thank you. Now, I want to ask you a question. Post in the comments which part of this video you found the most helpful. Was it an app or was it one of the tips? And what are you going to utilize the very next time you go out and shoot? So I hope that we can all utilize the tools that God has given us to explore His creation with childlike wonder. Good luck to you as you go out and shoot, and I'll see you next time.